Okay. Hi again. We move on. Christine Ligi with the new financial features. I just want to remind everyone that there are 2 other sessions, but they will all the presentations will be available online. So you can stay here and review the other presentation when they will be on our website. Thank you. Enjoy.
Thanks, Meir. Hi, so I hope you enjoyed lunch. Good afternoon. Welcome to this presentation on some of... You need a nap? Well, this is perfect. I'm Christine, Head of Customer Services here at Meditech. I have a few new and existing features of Priority to tell you about today. First of all, we're going to look at revenue recognition. In version 20.1, Priority added revenue recognition to the system. It was added after many customer requests for this feature. As with any Priority module, it's part of your installation and is not an additional package or bolt-on. Just a small charge is made for its use, as with any module, like customer service or projects. In version 21.0, Priority added the split screen reconciliation. This is a revelation in the way in which the reconciliation is done. Allows the user to carry out bank or account reconciliation without losing the reconciliations in progress. Priority Payment is a built-in portal that makes the whole process of collection from customers easier. And finally, we're going to hear about a few other features which you may be interested in, including budgets and customer credit. So first, let's talk about revenue. The principle is that you can only recognise the revenue of your business, the sale and the income of your wares when you have actually delivered them, not when the cash is received or when the item is invoiced. It's focused on 3 main elements: that you can perform the task and deliver the service or goods promised, that you will measure these items on your financial system according to true value, and that you can reasonably expect to be paid for these services. Here is a very basic example. On May the 1st, 2020, Marco's restaurant receives a deposit of $3,000 to seat and serve Connor and his 10-person wedding party in June. When should Marco record his revenue? Anybody? June. Correct. I know you all know the answer to that one. And that's because that's when the service was delivered rather than when the money was received. That was obviously a relatively simple example, and we can probably handle that with deferred income, but hopefully explained the simple concept. When we talk about revenue recognition, it's for more complicated examples. When we have a large project which is delivered over many months, or if we're delivering a service, the customer may pay some or all of the value up front, and then the product or service delivery is based upon the actual deliverables or milestones. Does that seem applicable for any? Maybe not. Revenue recognition may also be relevant to you as a manufacturer. According to this source from Sikic, if it is taking many months to create the items you are delivering, if you are charging the customer upfront for that product and need to recognise that it is partially theirs and that it cannot be used for any alternative use. So, to cope with these more complicated examples, the revenue recognition in Priority follows the ASC 606 principle. These very specific items are what we must define in Priority to recognise the revenue. We record a contract in Priority with it, which is either a sales order or a sales invoice. It's not a service contract, but a contract with the customer and us for the service or goods. Next, we define the contract obligations. So that is defined by the lines on the sales order or the invoice, as well as the price of the transaction is when the transactions are recognised and over what frequency they will be billed. No sleeping. Next, we need to define the fair value. So this can be according to the fair value for the whole contract or the ratio between various components on the contract. And finally, we recognise the revenue. So this is when we move the revenue from the deferred revenue on the balance sheet to actual revenue on our profit and loss report. It can be based upon billing date, delivery progress, reporting, or manual status updates. So let's see how this works in priority. We're going to review an example where we're supplying some software and associated maintenance costs. The initial revenue will be immediate, but the maintenance will be split over the next 12 months. Now I need to switch screens. I just need to make it so I can see it as well. Right, you can all see priority. Perfect. Okay, so in this example, we're going to have a sales order. This is a sales order for my software. Here is my sales order. It's sales order number 1, and the item that I'm supplying is the software at a cost of £5,600. Now, if I have a look, at the part in the financial parameters for parts, I can just show you how that's set up. So here we say that we want to split the revenue by a percentage, and we want that to be done immediately. What we're going to do is we're going to split 75% to the license, which is the full amount at the point of delivery, and the 25% is what I want to split for my maintenance, and that's going to be split in equal amounts over the period I define on my order. So if I go back to my order, we can see that information. That was the default for this part, but that's pulled into this subform here, FBA components. And here I can see those ratios and how they're split. And I can amend those if I want to. And then over here, I have the date range for that data. So I want that equal split to be over those 12 months, which is what I'm seeing in these date ranges here. When I change the order to a status that's flagged as the status that revenue recognition should occur, we can then see that value appear in the revenue recognition planning form. So here I can see that same sales order with a value of 5,600. The 75% is 4,200 for the date of the transaction, and the 25% being split amongst the different months that I mentioned for my range. So that's the setup for the journals to be posted. When I run my recognized revenue routine, and this routine you can put it in a scheduler, you could get it to run once a month, overnight, you could do it manually. It will post the journals for me. If we now go back to the recognized revenue form, you should see now that it's actually created a journal in this example for the maintenance, and it would do one of those per month. And that's when it's debiting our deferred income and crediting our sales at the points that we've said that those amounts should become due. The other example I have is a project. So a project where you have milestones and you want the revenue to be recognised according to their milestone delivery. So I'm going to close all of these screens, and if we again open my sales order form, here I have a project. So this project is a store build. It's actually an order which I have linked to a project, and if we look at the project itself, we can see the various activities on that project. In this example, I've got a specification, some recruitment, and each of those is made up of sub-activities. And I've flagged the level 1 WBS codes as milestones. So we can see there, this is my milestones for my project. If I then go back to my order, you can see I've got exactly the same records there. So in my sales order, I've got a line per milestone WBS. And I can mark these as being completed. So say I've now gone to my building and whereas it was 40%, I'm now 65% complete on that building. This record again has been linked to the revenue recognition. So if I go into my recognition, here is my sales order for my project, and we added building, I think it was, wasn't it? So if I go to the building line, you can see there that 25% had previously been recognised, and now we're adding in here another line for the remaining, the extra 40, because I've now reported 65%. That 65 was populated just by me filling in the value on the sales order. So there's a little bit of setup, obviously training and things that you need to set in the system, which we'd cover as part of the implementation. But the point is that this makes this process a lot easier from a usability point of view. We then recognise the revenue, which I don't need to do because I did it earlier. And let's have a look in here again. No, okay, so it hasn't posted a journal for me because this is dated 31st of October. So if I run it on the 31st of October, we'll get a journal in there and it will move the amounts across. Which you can see that would work in a monthly basis. You'd want people to just keep on populating it, and then at month end you would run the routine to create that transfer. Right, I just need to switch my screens back now. Right. So as you can see, the system has been built to allow many examples with varying complexity, of which I've only showed a couple. It depends on what your business is and what it requires as to which is suitable for your business. The main thing to remember is that the reason is to ensure your accounts are concise, accurate, and as easy to manage as possible. So now on to another new feature, relatively new feature, split screen reconciliation. Split screen functionality is a new feature which allows us to view all sides of the picture on the same screen. It's easier and more intuitive and only available in the web interface. Let's compare what we had versus what we have now. So this is the old screen layout. As you can see, we have the statement amount in yellow and the journal entry amount in red. And to match the two, we had to put a value into the reconciliation number column. So here we see an example where I've got a 1 against the statement amount and a 1 against the reconciliation amount, and they match each other. I suspect most of you are familiar with this screen. It works, it's fine, it's just not as good as the new screen. Now we have a single screen. We can use a tick box to link items together. We reconcile them straight away on that screen, and we carry out new transactions and use the refresh reconciliation work area to populate the form immediately. So beforehand, we used to have to come all the way out of the reconciliation work area, repopulate it, and then go back in. Now we've just got a button that we can press. Let's see it in action. So again, I'm going to do the screen switch thing and probably mess it up.
Which version was that available from? I'm sure I've seen that in 19, but...
The split screen rec?
Yeah.
I think it's 21.0.
I think it's 21.
Yeah, not sure what we have done,
Okay.
but yeah.
But it's only with the web interface, not the Windows interface.
Ah, okay. That'll be it.
No, you think you're on the web.
Oh, we were. Anyway, yeah, I'll take it one.
Right. So, first thing we have to do is record the statement in Priority. So this is an example of a statement that's been loaded. You can pop these statements into Priority manually by typing them. You could paste from an Excel spreadsheet. You could use a tool like MoneyHub to transfer the data in. Fodi will mention that later. Once you've got your statement in there, you've just literally got your debits and credit amounts. We can then go back to the statement itself. So I'm going to go to the bank reconciliation work area split. And you see this is the example of the screen that we just had. So on the right-hand side, we can see what's on my bank statement. On the left-hand side, we can see what's on the ledger. So if we try and find now some things that match, so if I pick these two transactions here, you notice that as I flag them, I can see a variance, and then I can tick, and it shows me now that my variance is 0. Then I click reconcile. What it's going to do is it's going to put those two to the bottom, it grays them out, and we can see that they're matched together. If we then find something that nearly matches, so here we've got this one is 133 and this one is 123. So they nearly match, and let's say that their variance is because of exchange rate adjustment, or we'll go with exchange rate adjustment. So when I reconcile, it recognises that there is that £10 variance, and it asks which account is it for. So I'm going to just pick anything. So that's gone to my Forex account, and then I can put in here an entry code and a reference if I want to. These references, it pulls automatically from the one that I last ticked. So if you tick the ledger side second, then it will pull that detail into here. If you tick the bank statement second, it will pull that detail into here. Then OK, and again you see it's reconciled them, it's made them grey, and it's moved them to the bottom of the screen. Now when I click finalise, they've been finalised and they'll be removed completely from the screen. It doesn't look like much, but it's much better than what was there before. No, I didn't want duplicate, did I? Extend. Thank you. So as you can see, this new split screen functionality is much more user-friendly and easier than the original method. Of course, if you're used to the old one, it's something new to learn, but it's standard, it's included in the package. There's no harm in trying it out when you next carry out a reconciliation. It's not going to break anything. Bear in mind, this new feature is not just for bank reconciliation, it's also there for account reconciliation and credit card reconciliation as well, in which case you would see debits and credits on either side of that screen rather than the bank and the statement, the bank and the ledger. Really useful if you're reconciling a large customer or supplier account with many transactions that need to be linked together. Now, on to priority payments. So the priority payments module allows you to streamline payments from your customer. Receipts from customers are processed using an online portal called PayMe. It's a completely PCI compliant, ensuring that no financial data is stored in the priority database. Here, the customer is able to click on a button on an invoice or access their portal to pay one or all of their invoices at the click of a button. There's also a dashboard which you can use to keep track of all this information in an easy real-time screen. It's a standard priority module and will allow you to keep on top of customer receipts easily with minimum input from yourself, avoiding processing time and errors. So let's take a look at how it works. The first example I have is an invoice. It's an invoice created within the priority payment, and when the customer receives their invoice, they have this additional icon, which I've highlighted in yellow, that they can click on that takes them directly to the payment portal. They'll either get a button, or they can have a QR code as well, so they could scan it from their phone. Once they do that, they get to the details of the invoice, and as you can see, it just looks like any other web page with a button that they can press. And once they've pressed that, they can then record their details about the payment, and it will pay that invoice and reconcile it for them with the originating invoice. The other really nice feature of the priority payment module is the payment portal. Here, your client can log in and see all the invoices, pay them, see prior payments on their account. So once logged in, they can see their open invoices, and they can just tick some boxes and click Pay Now, and then they are taken to the screen where they confirm those credit card details. Again, the receipt transaction is recorded in priority and linked to all the relevant invoices. Finally, with the payment portal, you can view a dashboard. This screen allows you to view your entire payment process, including all transactions with customers, all from a single location. Your payment processing information is at your fingertips, and you have real-time visibility to monitor and track your transactions and commissions. The module requires a license and maintenance payable to Priority. It works on the web interface only, which I think is probably fine for most of you. And then there's a small fee per transaction payable to PayMe. Budgets. Okay, the budgets module has been around for many, many years. I just wanted to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about it and how it could be used in your business. You might already use some aspects which you just don't know about yet. Budgets are multi-level and allow you to perform detailed planning and analysis of your company income and expenses. The lowest level of any given tree is the budget item, and the budget item is the value recorded against the transaction and can be set as a default for given nominal or accounting families, or can be manually selected by the user. To allow you to plan your budgets, a budget version is recorded, and you can have one or many budget versions in effect at one time, which allows you to plan and forecast for the current year, for the next year. For any of these budget versions, you can record appropriations per month, and like any part of the system, you can copy and paste this data from Excel or other places. If you wish, you can use budget version authorization, which allows you to create a budget and then make sure that it's authorized by the relevant parties in the business before it's actually put into effect. And there's a standard BPM in place, which of course you can use like any other BPM in the system. And there are very many detailed reports on budgets which allow you to see not only the actual spend, but also what is expected, going right back to the PR level, and allows you to have full visibility on your budget usage and entries. It ensures it uses the most up-to-date information. And of course, you've got the BI module as well, which includes budgets and gives you even more reporting power. Finally, it's worth noting that there's full data authorization included, which allows you to restrict who can see what budgets, who can see budget information based on department, for example. So you might want people in sales to only be able to see specific budgets for specific customers or groups or sales reps. Finally, just a few other little features that you may or may not know about in Priority. So the customer credit form, it's just a really powerful section of the system. It's always up to date with the credit held by customers, and some very useful sub-levels to allow you to drill down on the credit with your customers. You may or may not also know that you can easily email your customer statements just by selecting Quick Mail when printing, and they will be sent automatically to the contact flagged as the statement contact. And in recent version, they've added the ability to create a pro forma invoice journal, which wasn't there before and requested by many customers. Thank you for listening. Hope you found it useful. If you've got any questions, obviously let us know at the end of the day. And now I'll hand over to Fode.